to Issues with Cartoons. My name is Kyle.
My name's Carl.
And we are here to talk about cartoons and the comics that inspire them. We are continuing once more with our coverage of Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, the show from 2010. And we are all the way up to episode 9, Carl, The Living Legend.
That's right, episode 9. And something pivotal happens in this episode as far as Avengers canon, I'd say.
Major milestone early in the days of the Avengers lore. The return of Captain America is in this episode.
Thus the title.
Living Legend. Who else could it be but Captain America? This is written by Kevin Burke and Chris Wyatt and directed by Vincent Heck. This is the same... I don't know if Vincent Heck directed episode 3, but this is the same writing team that did the Hulk episode, the Hulk mini episode from earlier in the season. And yeah, this is pretty much Cap comes back.
It pretty much picks up from the last episode. The Avengers are out searching for the Hulk, which is very much like the comic, which we'll be talking about later, but they're essentially in the Arctic. And a big deviation from the comics for me that I noticed was that Wasp finds Cap.
Wasp is the one that finds him. But it's interesting, though, because when you read the comic, and again, we'll talk about Avengers issue 4 that you're referring to.
Yeah.
Wasp is the one who kind of identifies him when he's in the sub, and she's like, wait, this is Captain America. So there's a little bit there, but it is interesting that it's not Giant Man who's the one grabbing him out of the ocean. They just see him in a frozen tundra in a block of ice. It's very different kind of from the setup that you get in Avengers 4, which is an interesting choice.
She flies into his shield. Like, his shield's in the ice. She flies into it. Yeah, it's almost a gag. And like you said, we'll be talking about the issues later, and there's even more differences that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that. So, I did find that it happened too quick.
You thought so?
I thought so, and I have that on my notes here, that when I was watching it, I felt like we could have built up the moment of finding Cap a little bit more. I just thought the pacing had moved too fast.
It felt
for such a big moment.
To that point, and yeah, I don't think that's a invalid criticism. To that point, I think they were trying to... They have this, like, prologue, right? This cold open to every episode before they play the intro music.
Yeah.
And it felt like they were trying to meet their minute mark before the cold open ended and they start the intro music, and they wanted the cliffhanger before the intro to be, we found Captain America.
They definitely succeeded in that.
Yeah, it was a good way to draw you into the episode. But yeah, I mean, they did just kind of like, hey, we're looking for Hulk, and then they find Cap. And I wonder, too, if the fact that he's not floating in the ocean like he was in Avengers 4...
Right, he's
not him being in that glacier was just like a way to get that shot of the last episode of Hulk walking by Cap's shield and give us that tease. I don't know. Before we move past the intro, though, I do want to just say one thing I really enjoyed, and one thing that I think is really interesting about this team of characters. The dynamic between Thor and Iron Man was really interesting to me in this intro, where Iron Man is saying that he's going to use a scanner to find the Hulk. And Thor is very skeptical of technology. And we actually will see this in a couple of future episodes where, like, technology and Thor kind of butt heads a little bit, where he's just not very trusting. And so there's this moment where Thor says, well, I don't know why you need to use technology. You're too reliant on it. Just use your eyes and ears. And then Iron Man says, well, I'm picking up a faint life form. But that's so funny because I didn't see it with my eyes or hear it with my ears. And it was a very, like, kind of catty moment between them.
It was that Robert Downey Jr. humor.
Very much
kind of like with Iron Man, which I noticed a lot in these last two. They kind of insert quite a bit.
Yeah, a lot of it. But I like that these superheroes are not the same. They have different opinions and different ways of viewing the world and different ways of, like, getting the job done. And they benefit each other by what they bring to the table, and they also kind of rub each other the wrong way because they come at it from such different ways.
Thor's not used to Earth yet.
Right.
He's just used to being in Asgard, and he is this is his latest ventures in the Earth realm.
Right.
However you want to look at it from his point of view. I wanted to say something about the intro. You know, once again, the characters are being swapped throughout the intro of the show. So you have the theme song, and then when the characters converge in the title sequence, we're missing Hulk. Because Hulk left the team, so we only have the 4 characters.
Such a sparse little intro with just Iron Man, Thor, Giant Man, and Wasp. But, I mean, that's the lineup. So it's cool that it's whoever is in the official lineup makes it into the intro.
Right.
But yep, so we start the main part of the episode after the intro song is done. We start with a flashback to the end of Meet Captain America, that episode 4 where he sees Bucky dying.
And I did want to say that when the shot goes down into the ocean, there's almost Kirby dots, like moving along the ocean floor.
Beautiful.
With Cap's descent, which I thought was a cool touch. I mean, if we're gonna do classic Avengers, why not?
I mean, to do a episode focused on Captain America, this is our second Captain America focused episode. To do Captain America without giving some acknowledgement to Kirby and the design aesthetics of Kirby, I think is a mistake. So I love that they were able to fit that visual language, that visual tick of Kirby's into the design of that scene. But this reawakening on the Quinjet, very reminiscent of Avengers 4. Although I'll say this one was even a little wilder because he freaking throws Thor across the room. I mean,
he's PTSD Cap.
Yeah,
he's experiencing,
he's having an episode.
Yeah, he's having a little moment here where he fights the Avengers, and this does happen in the comic. He does fight the Avengers as well. But, after... Don't we get a little bit of Black Panther hacking the Avengers
we
files
cut away
as well?
from this fight to Black Panther breaking into the Avengers mansion, which that doesn't give you a whole lot of context other than he's in America, he's in New York, he's in the Avengers mansions, and
it's a quick scene.
Yeah, and he's able to circumvent Jarvis, which is pretty significant. But it does cut back, and I just want to point out that now they're in New York Harbor, and Hank becomes Giant Man. And this, in my ongoing coverage of my argument that Ant-Man is more effective than Giant Man, Giant Man gets hit by a shot. Iron Man tries to shoot Cap, and it ends up hitting Giant Man instead because he's such a huge target. So I'm going to point out every time Giant Man ends up being less effective than Ant-Man, we're going to keep track of that on this show. But
it's probably pretty often at this point already.
So far, it's been almost every time he's better off as Ant-Man. But regardless, Wasp is actually the one who resolves the problem, again. Because she's the one who shows Cap the memorial.
Yeah, he sees his statue and he realizes that he's dead at this point in time. He didn't know he was in the future. He just kind of woke up and started fighting everyone.
Right, and he even called Iron Man a Hydra automaton. He didn't even trust that the people around him weren't Hydra. He thought he was still captured.
Yeah.
Really, really cool. So at this point, though, we cut away to
the Hydra base.
The Hydra base, and Heinrich Zemo is back to take control of Hydra. And we're kind of reminded of the power structure of Hydra within this world where Zemo was kind of the head honcho even back in the 40s. And if you rewatch episode 4, the Red Skull kind of is answering to Zemo. And Zemo's a baron, he's a nobleman, so that makes sense. And the Red Skull was sort of his top man, but in this setup, Zemo was incarcerated, he was put away in jail, and Strucker was the next in line, and he was running Hydra with Grim Reaper as his right-hand man. So it's just interesting seeing them kind of establishing this one scene, kind of the power dynamics.
And Zemo's out for revenge still, and there's another flashback as well after this. But
Italy, 1943.
Yeah, we get another Zemo versus Cap in the past, right?
And this is pretty... So, if I can talk about Zemo real quick. So, Zemo, the Zemo we're seeing is Heinrich Zemo. He's the Zemo from World War II that fought Captain America and Bucky. He's the one responsible in the comics for Bucky's death. He is the the villain at the beginning of those first Lee Kirby Avengers stories. This is the first Baron Zemo. And when you do the flashback in 1943, the design they do is the classic Heinrich Zemo design.
Okay.
The Zemo design we see in modern day with that more form-fitting mask that he has with those kind of weird furry sleeves and stuff like that, that is Helmut Zemo, who is the Zemo we see pretty much any time after 1960s something. He's the one who founds the Thunderbolts. He's the one who does most of the major storylines involving the Masters of Evil. So what they did, I guess my point to all this is, they took the character of Heinrich Zemo and they just carried him through.
Oh, made
and
one
borrowed
character.
Aesthetics from Helmut. Yes,
I almost was going to say, I thought there was a twist there, because there was one point where Zemo was like, I'll have my revenge. He didn't say it personally, but I had the thought that they could be two different characters. But you're saying that they are, in fact, one character.
The way I'm reading it is they're one character, and my reasoning for that is
gene enhancement and stuff.
Right, because between all the different like science stuff, the Virus X, which is sort of a repurposing of Adhesive X from the comics, and Arnim Zola's treatments of Zemo are what are used as the rationale for him being so long-lived. Which brings me to the next thing, is we get Arnim Zola featured pretty heavily in this episode.
Yeah.
Which is another classic Kirby character, but I didn't know this until I looked it up. He's from the 70s run of Captain America. I didn't realize that Arnim Zola didn't show up until 1977, when Kirby came back to Marvel and took over the Captain America and Falcon book. But I mean, no denying that's a Kirby character. I mean, everything about Arnim Zola looks like a Kirby character to me. But yeah, so Zola's keeping him alive, and Zemo has found out that Captain America has come back.
Right.
And he comes to Zola looking for a way to resolve that problem.
Yeah, and we get these doughboys. How'd you feel about that? They're like these they're almost
like
reminded
putty.
me of Ghostbusters characters.
Oh, sure.
Almost, like Slimer or something.
That scene with the doughboy outside of Avengers Mansion was definitely a Slimer looking thing.
Yeah,
the floating ball with the skinny arms.
Just some of the way they animated it and the expressions of the doughboys and stuff. And
having read Avengers issue 4, I get the impulse to want to upgrade the villain of that issue in this story. I don't know if Doughboy was who I would have picked. It is so. Captain America and Falcon 208 was the first Zola. 209 was the first Doughboy. So it's very much a close association with Zola, but it was just kind of gross.
I kind of wish they had a lot of gags where Wasp was grossed out when she flew into one and stuff. They had some good gags with it, but I almost wish they weren't so loyal to the canon. They switched out the Doughboys a little bit, because it is a bit much.
I don't know if the return of Captain America, I don't know if Doughboy is worthy of being the first villain of the return of Captain America. Now, Zemo ends up being the big confrontational force that Captain America faces.
Yeah.
That felt very appropriate.
In the Avengers Mansion.
And I almost wonder if you could even do away with the entire Doughboy subplot. The Doughboy subplot just felt like something to give the other Avengers something to do while Captain America and Wasp fought Zemo.
And Cap has a big moment where he saves Wasp with his shield.
I love that. That was such a great...
Wasp gets shot by Zemo. She's down. Zemo and Cap have their little brawl, and Zemo's like, I'm back for my revenge, which is what I was talking about earlier when I thought it was a different character, but ends up it's not. But Cap leaps forward with his shield before this explosion.
Great animation.
Wasp.
Great animation.
Yeah, it's a cool moment.
I do want to back up a little bit, only because before Zemo appears in the mansion, the Avengers bring Captain America to the mansion to kind of give him the lay of the land. And we get that man out of time tragedy that's so integral to modern Captain America when he kind of comes to this realization that everyone he knows is dead and gone.
He's mourning the past.
He's mourning the life that he no longer has and is just trying to figure out what this new life is going to be. There was also a really great moment where Thor, where they walk Captain America into the mansion and Jarvis starts talking. And Thor turns to Cap and says, "The building has its own voice. It's very disconcerting." Again, that anti-technology kind of sentiment that Thor has, but it does give you a lot of good lines. And Thor's got a very defined personality in this show, I feel like. They all do, but Thor especially.
How'd you feel about Ant-Man and Giant Man, the helmet swap?
Where
and during the action sequence.
Yeah, where it will like shrink down and become his mask.
Yeah,
kind of
his mask switch.
I think it's an elegant solution because if you read, like we've been reading those early Avengers comics, and pretty much after he becomes Giant Man, you don't see that helmet that much, that Ant-Man helmet all that much.
And if they switch, it's off panel. They never show that.
Right.
They never show like
that
the
animated kind of
switching
thing
in real time.
So I think it's a pretty good solution because I like both aesthetics and I want him to keep both, and I think it makes sense for him to shrink down as Ant-Man and keep the helmet and grow to Giant Man and have that mask. So it's kind of the best of both worlds.
I thought it was a cool choice. I thought it was interesting too.
And for a character whose whole thing is shrinking things and changing the size of things, I think making the helmet kind of part of it's the same thing the MCU does, where it kind of animates the helmet back and forth when Paul Rudd puts it on. I liked it. I thought it was a good solution. Ant-Man, speaking of which, has my favorite gag in the whole episode when they get the alert that Doughboy is attacking the Statue of Liberty, and Iron Man says, "Avengers assemble!" And Ant-Man says, "But we're all here," which I thought is illustrative of my biggest gripe with the Avengers Assemble as a battle cry, because Avengers Assemble is a command to get together. It's not a command to attack. It's come on everybody, let's get together. Let's
form up.
Let's form up. And Ant-Man kind of lampshades that a little bit and says, "But we're already here." And I thought that was a great gag. But yeah,
there was something where like Thor had like a ridiculous line, and then Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man's like, "What he said," or something.
Oh right, yeah. I wish I do remember that moment.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah,
I have that down.
This episode had a lot more humor in it than the other ones did. That must just be a function of the writers, Wyatt and Burke. I don't remember the Hulk episode having this many quips in it, but I mean they
definitely didn't.
For that too. Yeah.
None of the episodes before this have this many gags. And
yeah,
I thought it was good. I like my comics to have like a few jokes sprinkled in. I don't like when things get overly serious.
I agree.
It's just that's why.
They're superheroes. It should be fun. You should be enjoying yourself.
That's what I mean.
But Black Panther's still lurking about. He's kind of
they tease him
in
a
the
few
shadows.
times.
Yeah, throughout the episode.
They don't let you know what's going on quite yet.
But he does end up showing himself to sort of turn the tide in the Zemo Cap fight when he throws Cap his shield, and that's I think a pretty significant moment where he kind of inserts himself into the action, picks a side basically, and chooses the Avengers, and then ditches to the point where Cap just assumes he's an Avenger. And when he talks to Iron Man at the very end of the episode, he says, "I'd love to meet the Avenger who saved me, the guy in the black catsuit." And Tony has no idea what he's talking about, which obviously is going to set up groundwork for later episodes.
Obviously, he's going to join the team at some point, which I'm looking forward to. I mean, I'm ready for that interaction. Whenever it happens.
I don't know if he's a mainstay in Avengers comics, but he's certainly a staple. Like he's a pretty important character in Avengers lore and in the Avengers lineup.
Yeah, it's a classic character, classic Marvel character.
For sure.
And Fantastic Four as well as Avengers.
Well, yeah. See our coverage of episode 5, where we talk about that.
Right.
So the Wasp and Captain America, after Zemo gets away, go to the Statue of Liberty to help with Doughboy. And they kind of realize that Wasp's stings are bioenergy and seem to have an effect on Doughboy.
Have more of an effect than...
Thor's electricity was bad, but Wasp's little stings are good. So, comic book science. And again, Ant-Man ends up being the one who solves the problem. Not Giant Man, but Ant-Man says, I'm going to match the frequency with my little helmet.
Oh, yeah, they combine.
And then he says, Iron Man, match my frequency. Like, he kind of takes charge and kind of leads the team through the solution. And Doughboy blows up, and it's real gross. And when you remember that it's a biochemical, like it's a bio-engineered creature.
They create this big pulse wave, and it dissipates the Doughboys, and then the whole area turns to slime.
Yeah.
And,
bad cleanup.
It was fine.
Damage control is going to have a lot to do. But then we cut back to Avengers Mansion, and Tony gives Cap a picture of him with Howard Stark. And
that was a good moment.
It was a great moment. And I don't know where this fits in the timeline of them developing the MCU. Maybe Dominic Cooper had already been cast as Howard Stark, and there had already been buzz that Howard Stark was going to be in the first Avenger film. Maybe that connection was already there. Or perhaps this precedes that. Because Howard Stark in World War II with Captain America is a fairly modern addition to the lore.
I was about to say that's like in the first Captain America movie. But then they develop it even more, though, in the MCU with Agent Carter. The TV show, and they spin Howard out into a whole character in that and really develop that. And I don't know. I think that whole thread's interesting. It leads to one of my favorite scenes in any of the MCU films in Civil War, where Cap and Iron Man fight, and Iron Man's like, he's like, put down that shield, and he's like, that's my father's shield.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Really,
Cap or whatever.
Really emotional, visceral moment.
Yeah. He's like, that's not even your shield, or whatever he says, and the Cap throws it down. That's one of my favorite moments.
Absolutely, it was that climax was a very emotionally charged ending. Probably one of the better endings to an MCU film.
But I don't want to get too off on that. There's one scene after the battle. The denizens of Ellis Island cheer the Avengers on. They're happy. They saved the day, and the Avengers get a little bit of the limelight. But then we cut to Enchantress and Executioner.
Right. So Zemo is coming back because he's pissed. And he wants to tell Zola, like, your boy, Doughboy, screwed up. He didn't do what he was supposed to do. And we need to come up with a plan. And then you see Executioner and Enchantress holding on to the broken robot body of Arnim Zola.
Yeah. And they take him out. They take Zola out.
They have an offer for him. They have an offer for Zemo. And Zemo looks like he's ready to listen.
The more I read about Enchantress, she's such a vile and manipulative woman. I find myself wanting to read more about her.
Yeah, she's really compelling, right?
Yeah.
Really compelling. And in the same way
character.
That Loki is sort of this wild card where you never know what to expect. She's very similar. And there have been comics where she's kind of reformed and tries to make nice with Thor and ends up, still being this machinacious character. I don't know how much play she gets in modern comics, but I tend to associate her more with classic Marvel.
I don't know this for a fact, but I feel like the Giant Man design and the Enchantress design are Bruce Timm designs. They're very similar.
Interesting.
Like Enchantress's hair, like the way it folds down and stuff. It just reminds me of a Bruce Timm design. And obviously, we could go the Alex Toth and Space Ghost with Giant Man's eyes and stuff. But I wonder if that's on purpose.
Bruce Timm has very rarely done Marvel art, but I do think there is a Women of Marvel pinup he's done where he draws all the Women of Marvel, and I think Enchantress is in there, and it would be interesting to compare his design to Kirby's design to Tom Perkins' design.
I remember on his website in the 90s, he had like a whole area that was like him drawing Spider-Man and stuff.
Sure.
It's out there.
Well,
you can find that where Bruce Timm drew Marvel characters. It's online. You can find it.
And not to name drop the essential format in every episode we do. But
why not?
We should try to make that a goal. But the essential format, a lot of that cover art, not all of them. Some, like, I know, like, the Captain America one is John Romita, but I think Iron Man, I think the Hulk, the X-Men, like classic X-Men, a lot of those, they use Bruce Timm artwork for
the covers.
For the cover treatment.
Yeah.
Which, and DC does similar things where they'll have Doc Shane or Darwin Cook do their omnibus collections or stuff where they'll have, like, classic aesthetic artists do classic covers, but that's where the bulk of Bruce Timm Marvel art that I've seen comes from. There are a few things, and we've talked about covering some Bruce Timm Marvel work. But
this fun fact, I think it was Bendis X-Men run, Uncanny X-Men 600, had like pinups by various artists.
Yeah.
And there is a Bruce Timm page that's cool. Like all different versions of Jean Grey.
Oh, so that would be fun to look at.
Yeah, so Bruce Timm did draw that at one point, but that's, like I said, that's only one page.
There's an Avengers one-shot that Kurt Busiek wrote. Did you ever read, maybe not, again, this is me showing my Captain America fanboy, but Captain America Red, White, and Blue was a...
Tim Sale?
No, that's Captain America White. Captain America Red, White, and Blue was it was like the way I read it was as a collected hardcover.
I see.
So I don't know if it was released in a different format, but it was short stories and pinups and one-shots by a lot of different amazing artists where they only have red, white, and blue as a color palette. And Bruce Timm does a World War II werewolf story with Captain America. And
that's fun.
Fabulous. So fun. Gives you a lot of vibes from that episode 4 Meet Captain America episode. I'll have to show it to you sometime. It's fun to read. Actually, it might even be on Marvel Unlimited, frankly. So
check it out.
Yeah, check it out. So yeah, we'll try to mention Essentials and Bruce Timm every chance we get. But to your point, I think in the same way that Bruce Timm animated a lot of classic Kirby designs with the New Gods and the
and
Demon
Superman
and all that stuff with the Superman animated series, I think Kirby and Timm have a lot of shared design aesthetics, and I do think Timm had to be influenced by Kirby in some way.
Absolutely.
But I think Timm interprets Kirby very, very well. So it's, to me, very easy to see the through line between Kirby to Timm to now this show, where they're obviously chasing some of that DCAU magic with this show.
Right.
In a lot of ways.
All right. Any other thoughts before we jump to the comics section?
No, it's nice to have Captain America back, buddy. I'm glad you're here.
All right. We'll see you later.
See ya. Let's talk some comics.
Hello, welcome back to Issues with Cartoons, and we are now in our comic book segment where we'll be talking about Avengers number 4.
Captain America lives again. Also in this issue, this sensational issue, Submariner. I just love that he gets his own little insert panel here. We've both read this several times. It's a milestone in Marvel Comics history. Very important Avengers issue, very important superhero comics issue. We had seen, up until this point in Marvel history, efforts to kind of bring in elements from the Golden Age and from Timely and Atlas Comics.
Quite a few times. Human Torch.
But this might be the most significant direct effort.
This is where they pull it off.
Absolutely, yeah.
This is where it comes together. I mean, you have Cap, you have Submariner, you have, all the classic Avengers.
Yeah, you get
here.
Bucky in here, and it really is sort of a bridge of the gap. Before we dive into the issue, I do want to provide I love providing some context.
Sure.
I want to set readers up to understand what readers in 1964, right? This is 1964. 1964. What readers had experienced up until this point with Captain America. So we'd covered Captain America comics from 1940. That lasted up through issue 75 into the late 40s. It actually ended as they retitled it Captain America's Weird Tales, and then it was canceled. Then it was revived in the 50s for about 2 or 3 issues with John Romita on art, where he fought the communists instead of the Nazis. They ended up not going any further with that, probably because it wasn't catching on. And that was all of the Captain America content we got. So bear in mind the dates here. Like, we're talking about 1948 and then 1950, probably 52 or something like that. An issue of Strange Tales came out where they had a character called, I think, the Acrobat or the Tumbler fight the Human Torch dressed as Captain America.
Insane.
And they made it sort of a teaser for, like, he was pretending to be Captain America. Everyone in the book thought he was Captain America until the second half of the book, where he reveals he was just a thief dressed as Captain America trying to, like, earn public favor to get access to, do crime. And what that was sort of an audience test to see were people interested in a new Captain America title or a return of Captain America.
And what a crazy way to test it.
Right? So it's just so interesting
way.
Because they had tried in the 50s and it didn't work. So they're like, well, we want to do it, but let's see if there's interest. So when you see on that first beautiful cover, that first beautiful splash on the first page, gloriously written by Stan Lee and grandly illustrated by Jack Kirby. Who, I have that here, George Roussos was the inker.
Nice.
But it says, by audience demand, or where does it say? Bringing you the great superhero which your wonderful avalanche of fan mail demanded. So the context for that is they had done like a teaser reintroduction of Captain America in this Strange Tales issue with Human Torch. And it got people jonesing for more Captain America, so they bring him back. Just really interesting. And we'll talk a little bit more about this whole context later, though, because the dates matter here. One other thing that I wanted to point out about this cover is the little caption at the bottom, where he talks about, the Mighty Marvel Comics Group is proud to announce that Jack Kirby drew the original Captain America during the Golden Age of comics, and now he draws him again. Also, Stan Lee's first script during those fabled days was Captain America, and now he authors it again. And I have to say, it does kind of read, to someone who doesn't know any better, like Stan Lee wrote the original Captain America.
Yeah, let me point this out, that it is a common misconception because of things like this, and the way Marvel has presented it since. But Joe Simon and Jack Kirby created Captain America in the 40s.
You know whose name is nowhere to be found on Captain America Comics #1?
Joe Simon.
Stan Lee's name is nowhere near that issue. I think it was issue 2 or 3 that he does a text piece. So he says it's a script. It's actually a text piece. It was his first Marvel credit.
That's what I mean. We've almost backtracked to where, like, Stan Lee is already self-inserting himself into history here.
And nothing about what he says in this caption is wrong. But the way it's framed makes it seem to someone who doesn't know any better.
I think in the episode where we cover the Cap Mini episode 4, we do talk about Joe Simon a bit. So if you want more of that, I recommend you go check out episode 4.
Joe Simon, man. Unsung hero.
It's strange. They don't even give him credit in this.
Isn't that bizarre?
It's bizarre.
And and we could go into the legal history of Captain America and how Simon sued Marvel Studios or Marvel Comics and all that stuff. But now, when you read Marvel Comics now, or when you see an adaptation of Captain America anywhere, by legal mandate, it says Captain America, created by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby on every credit now. If he appears in a comic anywhere, that little epitaph has to be in there somewhere. So fortunately, he eventually gets the credit he's due. But little long walk to get there.
I do want to bring up this corner box, and I think it's a lot of, on the cover, it's a lot of fun, because I like a giant man holding the wasp in his hand.
I love that.
In the corner box, yeah.
I'm glad you bring up the corner box for two other reasons. I love that giant man wasp. That visual, by the way,
that's fun.
Wasp on giant man's hand.
It's great.
I love it every time. Every iteration is just my favorite. We also get we both read issue 3 kind of off air.
Yeah, we did.
Did we get red and gold Iron Man in issue 3?
Yeah, I think we
did. So this is actually the second time we get red and gold, but this is the first time we were covering red and gold Iron Man.
It's great. I do want to bring this up. I was hoping we'd get to this. Is that Iron Man's costume changes every time.
Constantly.
Every time. It's like every issue. I can see where the fans started keeping track of, okay, this is Mach 3 and this is Mach 7.
And all the features become... It's like car heads. Like people who... Like my dad loves cars. He can tell you every change they've ever made to the Corvette throughout its history. And there are Iron Man armor fans like that. We also get... and by the way, I think Steve Ditko did the first red and gold Iron Man. That could be wrong. But, Steve Ditko doing a lot more for Marvel than people usually credit him for, where he's usually just the Doctor Strange Spider-Man guy. But he made Anger a pivotal part of the Hulk's lore, and I think he did the red and gold armor for Iron Man. So, just interesting to note that. Another interesting thing to note is in this corner box you mentioned, the Hulk is still in the corner box.
The Hulk is mentioned, though, in 3.
Oh, sure. He's featured heavily, but by this point he's quit the team. He's not even in this issue. Though he's mentioned, as you say. He's actually an antagonist in the previous issue, in issue 3. And they haven't updated the corner box. I just like it. I just think it's fun. Again, we've said it before in the show, but corner boxes need to come back, Marvel.
Yeah, bring them back, please. Yeah. I'm tired of that just red box with the number in it.
Red box with a number.
Yeah, come on, you can do better.
And I've said it before. DC's bringing their old logo back, Marvel.
And it looks great. I love that 90s logo.
Oh my gosh, the bullet? Yeah. It's the DC logo in my mind.
Same.
But this isn't a DC comic. This is a Marvel comic. Carl, tell us what happened.
Okay, so essentially we get this awesome splash page of like the Avengers lining up, Captain America walking through the door. That's where we're focusing on the caption box. It doesn't mention Joe Simon, but besides that, it's a beautiful illustration. I mean, it's great. And then first page we have the Avengers are out in the Arctic and they run into Submariner. And
he gets away and he's just angry that his plans have been foiled, and he's...
this is picking up from last issue.
Yeah, and it actually mentions Fantastic Four Annual Number 1, which is something you've read pretty recently.
I did.
So you have even more of that context where he can't find Atlantis, he can't find his people, so he's just mad. And he ends up stumbling upon an Inuit tribe that are worshipping a man frozen in ice as like an ice god. So, again, like, your mileage may vary. This is fairly problematic in terms of, like, cultural sensitivity. They're referred to as Eskimos, which I don't know is the contemporary nomenclature of choice that we would use. Regardless, in this issue, they are worshiping this man frozen in ice.
They pull him out of the ice, and do you have any guesses of who this frozen man is?
Who could he be? Who, Carl?
It is none other than Cap. And this is what I wanted to talk about earlier when we discussed Wasp finding Captain America. Yeah. This is more epic to me. I love that Submariner is the one to really throw...
He plays a role.
He throws this frozen Cap and breaks the ice and frees Captain America.
And you imagine a scenario where Submariner is super cool, and obviously Submariner, another timely character, predating Captain America.
It's the one to free Cap.
Yeah, is the one to free Cap. which I want to talk more about that also. I'm worried this episode's going to run long because I have a lot to say.
That doesn't matter to me. Let it run.
Let it run. You all can pause and come back later. Or, listen to this at dinner with your family. But you imagine a scenario where you have the Hulk, they're chasing the Hulk through the Arctic, and you already see him go by Captain America's shield last episode. You imagine a scenario where he could have been the Namor of this scene, where he's angry and takes this block of ice and throws it into the ocean, and then you have a similar setup where the Avengers pull him out of the water. You don't even have to go out of your way to introduce Namor if you didn't want to. Although, and we've talked about this, as it relates to the MCU, Captain America and the World War II timely characters are so untapped for their potential. This episode of EMH reminded me of our conversation about how Marvel really needs to do a World War II Captain America animated series. Or even watching Arnim Zola and Zemo animate so well, and watching the flashbacks to World War II, really deserving of an animated series, I think.
I think, just the history of Namor as a character, and, having the fight with the Avengers in issue 3. Yeah. And it's kind of like the issues all connect, they all flow into each other. There's a thread from each one and each preceding and each following issue. And I just think it's so much more interesting than the MCU. That Namor frees Cap. And it's more interesting than the Ultimate Universe, where it's I feel like the actual freeing of Cap and the team finding him is so much more epic in this.
Oh man, if we're comparing this to Ultimates and MCU, you are 1,000,000,000% correct.
Right. Isn't this a more interesting setup?
The MCU, you get one quick shot of him being thawed out, which is
barely in it.
Which is pretty much the same you get from the Ultimates. They basically took the Ultimates origin where S.H.I.E.L.D. finds him.
Yeah,
and thaws
S.H.I.E.L.D.
him out.
finds him in the ice.
Boring, man. Yeah. Boring. When you're right. You get these characters who are on their own journeys and their own conflicts, and as a consequence of this conflict, they find the most important Avenger of them all. Right. The one who is so important that he's pretty much called a founder in all comics after this, even though it's 4 issues later. Incredibly consequential, incredibly epic. The
continuity's cool. It is. It's just cool continuity.
And we talked about this with the Fantastic Four, but these comics are way more serialized than I think people remember them. I think Stan Lee is very often remembered as saying everyone's comic is their first comic, and people tend to associate that storytelling with done in one issue formats. I don't know if that's entirely true when we're sitting here reading these, and there is a lot of carryover in storytelling. And a lot of continuity between books. We talked about them updating Iron Man's armor. We talked about Giant Man previously being introduced as a continuity nod to what was going on in his series.
Yeah.
It ended up being a problem for Stan Lee and Jack Kirby to kind of keep up with the continuity, which is why they ended up going with a whole new lineup later on. But really, really interesting, really, really memorable storytelling. That shot of Giant Man's giant hand grabbing Captain America out of the water, and then that shot of him on the table with the Avengers surrounding him.
Oh, just no.
Just iconic on page 4.
Where's Giant Man's hand grabbing?
Giant Man's hand is grabbing Captain America.
Yeah, so basically, I know our listeners can't see this, but the Avengers are in a submarine.
Yep.
And they're around the Arctic, because obviously they just battled Namor, and they come across Cap's body, and Giant Man pulls him in, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And another deviation from the show, but Captain America is wearing military fatigues that are decaying around his superhero costume.
Which we unveil that later.
Yeah. And so in the episode, he's just wearing his Captain America costume. But here at the bottom of page 4, I actually in the middle of page 4, Wasp is the one who recognizes him as the famous red, Captain white, America. And blue garbed Captain America. Yeah.
And I love the look on Tony's face.
Yeah.
It's great. You don't see his mouth, but Tony's eyes,
amazing.
Tony's shocked.
Amazing
that
how
they
he's
found
able
Captain
to
America. Yeah. And
really, really cool.
That's what you get with Kirby that you don't get with Don Heck, which
Yeah.
we'll be talking about later. Don Heck has his own style. It's less blocky and more organic.
I would
Kirby's.
say he's more naturalistic, and Kirby's very expressionistic. And I feel like that plays, it's to his benefit with these superhero masks that are hard to read if you do them naturalistically.
This isn't Avengers 2 Kirby where he's rushing the issue. Like, either.
Wow.
This is, like, rendered really well. Like, I love all the panels on this page. Like, I love Cap in the bed. I love Iron Man holding up Cap's mask. And I love Wasp being miniature and flying by Cap's face. It sells it really well.
And again, I've said this every time too, but like the size dynamics of Wasp and Giant Man lend so much to compositions in these comics.
I know.
But
it's fun.
It is fun. And I think to your point about this issue being such a higher quality Kirby loved Captain America. Kirby,
it's his darling.
Well, it is his baby.
His baby,
and I think it reads really well in this whole issue. And I really do, you do kind of feel the magnitude of this Golden Age artist bringing this Golden Age character to the modern day. And it feels historic. And this classically costumed superhero fighting alongside these 60s, but at the time, modern characters, it really does feel special. And it does feel special having Kirby draw Captain America.
Okay, so page 5 has a lot of what the episode incorporated. We have, like, PSD Cap waking up. And the first thing he says is, Bucky, look out! Yeah. He's got PSD. He's literally reliving the loss of Bucky when he wakes up.
It's the scene from the episode, like all in this one page. Like that whole fight is kind of captured in this page.
And this is why these older comics are the pacing is fun sometimes because you get these big moments and they're just a panel long.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned. I want to talk about this because I think I noticed too, like. This issue is dense. We go through a huge amount of plot in this 20-some pages.
No, you're right.
And the panel count is pretty stuffed. I mean, some of these are 7 or 8 panel pages. And it doesn't read laboriously, though. It really reads well. The economy is amazing.
Yeah. It's stuffed with content, right? Especially compared to today's comics. Like, if this were a comic that came out now and Brian Michael Bendis wrote it, I know, I love Bendis. I'm just throwing this out there.
But we just talked about New Avengers 1 through 3, so our listeners have that context.
Yeah, but if Bendis wrote this in 2001, this would have been 6 issues.
Well, and to your point, there was a miniseries by Joe Casey and Scott Collins, or was it Scott Collins? Yes, it was Scott Collins, called Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, appropriately enough. And it covered this time period. I think it was 5 or 6.
Right, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. But as comics went along, they made them more like movies, etc. But, panel 2, okay, back to page 5. Cap wakes up, screams about Bucky, immediately starts brawling with the Avengers.
Look at that panel.
Immediately.
Look at the action in that panel. Just amazing.
Cap's fighting Thor, Giant Man, and Iron Man all at the same time.
Yeah.
And then they quickly, they step off a little bit, but Cap doesn't know where he is. He's like, who am I?
Yeah, and they're not quite sure. Then it's their turn to be suspicious when you go to page 6. So he's disoriented, not sure who to trust, so he starts fighting, then they stop, and then they're like, wait, but are you really Captain America? And then we're going to fight more. And then it's not until, and first, by the way, page 6, panel 4, Giant Man gets kicked over Captain America's head once again, proving himself less effectual. But then Wasp just appears out of nowhere
and shocks him.
Cap has no idea what to do with a girl who's going to show up ready to fight.
Well, she appears out of nowhere, though. There's a little bit of shock there. He says, a girl, but from where?
Right.
Because Wasp was probably enlarged herself. It's implied. It's not shown.
Yep.
It's not shown, it's implied.
Yep, she says, I'll take a growth capsule, and then she's just there.
Yeah.
It really animates well. And then you get the whole team at the bottom of page 6, and it just looks real good. They just look real good together.
Why hasn't he aged?
And again, for context, this is 1964. This comic posits that he went into the ice in 1945. That's less than 20 years.
Right.
So for us, when in modern retellings, this time disparity becomes much bigger, and the man out of time becomes much more extreme the further we get from World War II.
That's a good point.
But in this, like, there are people, bystanders that we're going to see in this comic who say, I remember you when I was a kid. Man. Or my big brother talked to me about you. You can't do that dialogue in a retelling of the story now.
It would be terrible to wake up in World War II and then wake up in Vietnam. I wouldn't be happy about that.
No. There would be a lot of upsetting parts about that. I mean, sure, there are some things you can be happy about, but, I mean, the 1960s is quite a time for America.
They don't skip any time, though. I mean, like, page 7, we're getting last mission with Bucky. And there's so much here I want to talk about because
this is so dense. This whole adventure's in one page.
Because of the history of Marvel and Winter Soldier and all the stuff that's going on there, and we talked about episode 4, the death of Bucky and stuff. I could see, was it Ed Brubaker that wrote the Winter Soldier stuff? I could see where Ed Brubaker reread this story and he's like, wait a second. We don't see the explosion that kills Bucky because it happens off panel.
Yeah, there's that gutter space that you read all the story. Scott McCloud theory of comics, where all the storytelling is in between the images that you're creating in your mind. All these events, and that's where you can kind of find the gaps where you can elaborate and create new stories. And
comics are additive as they are subtractive.
Right. And this page is so important to Captain America comics from 1964 through the mid-2000s during the Winter Soldier arc.
Yeah.
This page is referenced and retold. One of my favorite comics as a kid is a retelling of this page in a full issue. It's incredible.
It's only 5 panels.
It's 5 panels, but it's so monumentally important, and Bucky's hair is miscolored in this edition. But it's so monumentally important to Captain America, to Marvel lore, to the ties between Timely and Marvel Comics. This page is very significant.
It shows essentially it's the last mission of Captain America and Bucky. They're on the airplane, Bucky warns Cap it's gonna blow, and cuts the Cap, he's falling. But this shot, panel 5 on page 7, is the shot that's in Earth Mightiest Heroes of Cap falling through the water.
Yeah,
it's exactly the same. The one we were talking about earlier with the Kirby dots referenced, they pulled that from this page.
Where he's just descending into the ocean. Every one of these panels, I talk about turning Kirby into gallery art. You just close your eyes and pick a panel at random.
It's a good
you blow
motorcycle.
That panel up. That's a great plane.
Yeah.
That's a great shot. They're all just, that shot of him falling and screaming.
That's
incredible pop art.
This issue is Kirby firing on all cylinders. 10 out of 10.
He's having a great time.
It's the opposite of Avengers 2.
Honestly.
Yeah, where Avengers 2 felt rushed and you had Hulk with 3 toes. This is the complete opposite. This is rendered really well.
And you know what? I don't know George Russos at all. Great job inking. Really effective inking.
No, it looks great.
Also, we have to point out this is the first appearance of Baron Zemo. We aren't going to tell that from this issue because they don't name him and they don't show any more of him besides this silhouetted figure and this hand. But the man responsible,
really?
The man responsible, and you find out in Avengers issue 6. We're not covering that yet. But Avengers issue 6, you find out that Zemo is responsible for the final mission of Bucky and Cap.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Another comic book storytelling device, Cap's little head being the narrating box. I just like that. I like that as a element of a bygone era in comics where you just have a little Cap head telling you the story.
Oh, you see that? Yeah, you see that a lot in older comics. Yeah.
But anyway, they arrive on shore, and the Avengers get out first and are greeted by the paparazzi and are greeted by the news media, and then a big flash happens and they're turned to stone.
Yep, there's a ray gun, some kind of experimental
Something's
ray,
happened.
turns them into statues. Cap leaves to find out what happens, right? Essentially.
Yeah, and that's when he kind of runs into a bunch of people and he starts remarking about, well, all the fashion's different and the buildings are different, the cars are different. And he kind of dismisses the fact that there are these statues of the Avengers. He just assumes there's some weird modern art.
He's like disturbed by the United Nations. Like he walks by the United Nations and he's like, how could they all be getting along?
I don't know if
like,
disturbed or just like surprised, or he can't imagine a world, because he's coming from a world of turmoil,
divided,
and now to see this world where like, you know, presumably the German flag is right next to the American flag, and like all these nations are working together. He's very surprised.
I do love this cop on the bottom panel on page 9 where he's like, I can't be wrong. I saw you once when I was a kid. I never forgot it.
Right, and again, going back to that point of like the 1920s, or the 1940s being only 20 years ago. And actually, this reminds me of a note I wanted to make earlier, because I talked about the timeline of Captain America in comics up to this point.
Sure.
They continued publishing Captain America through the 40s and even into the 50s. But this is saying that he disappeared in 1945. That disparity is later explained through various and sundry retcons, which yields you all kinds of different versions of people wearing the Captain America costume that are covered later on. But at the time, in 1964, they weren't thinking about those fans of 1948 Captain America or 1952 Captain America. They weren't trying to make that all make sense. They had an idea for a story. Stan Lee famously hated sidekicks, so he killed off Bucky, and he used that as a way to launch pathos and storytelling and give Captain America a wound for him to extol about in
It's that classic Marvel drama. It's like, you know, the Human Torch fighting with the Thing. Like, Stan Lee was great at humanizing all the Marvel characters, and that's what separated Marvel from DC.
That's why they were such a monumental force in comic publishing.
I thought this was funny where Captain America's at this hotel, not the Avengers mansion, like it is in Earth Mightiest Heroes.
Yeah.
It is very much the same shot that's used in Earth Mightiest Heroes, this shot from the back. But he's like, he's commenting on how wonderful TV is. He's like, oh, what a great thing for them to have television. And that made me laugh.
That's very funny.
I was pretty laughing. So Rick Jones shows up.
Yeah, so Rick Jones, the sidekick of the Marvel Universe, shows up and has Steve kind of bugging a little bit, where he's like, you look so much like Bucky. Thinks it's Bucky. And Rick's just like, hey, you want me to tell you about my friend the Hulk next time I see him? Like, don't mess with me.
I'll take you down to Yancey Street and beat you up.
Dude, Rick's been to Yancey Street.
Yeah, as you can tell, he's got an attitude. You can tell
he's got some attitude. But this kind of begins... this is the first example of decades of stories where Cap is constantly trying to fill that hole that Bucky left, where he is lamenting the loss but is trying to move forward, and he sees this boy Rick.
That's kind of his arc. And so he uses the Teen Brigade radar, which he's been using every time we see him. Yeah. Literally, like, Kirby will just draw a panel of Rick on the headset.
Yeah.
And so, like, he finds this guy with a ray gun to turn the Avengers into statues.
Yeah, although it's funny because he asks Rick to help him, but Cap is the one who ends up finding this guy.
Oh, yeah.
And so he finds him and takes out his goons real quickly.
It's a fun
and a really fun action scene. Again, you can tell Kirby loved Captain America. Like these,
it's a great fight scene.
Captain America fight scenes by Kirby just read differently than other Kirby fight scenes and other Captain America fight scenes.
Even on page 13 where he throws the shield, it's such a great shot. Like I was reading this and admiring how well that was rendered. The shield is splitting the guns in half, and Cap's leaping through the air. I mean, what more do you want?
Exciting.
Like, what more do you want from a superhero comic?
For sure, it's dynamic. I mean, I know that word and Kirby are like synonyms, but it really is incredible. And you get to page 14 where he's punched this mask off this perpetrator.
Oh, big revelation!
And I need to ask you, Carl, because you're an X-Men fan.
Okay, so this is the broccoli alien race.
Okay.
That when Jean Grey becomes the Phoenix, she destroys a planet, essentially, and is put on trial.
Incredibly consequential.
So this is, I believe, the first appearance of that broccoli race.
I think it is. It has to be.
So this is
broccoli race because the man's face looks like
it's literally broccoli. Yeah, he's green. He's got like a poof hair. He's basically got Gen Z haircut. He's and so
direct your comments to Carl, please.
Yeah. So he like rips the mask off, and you find out that this guy that turned the Avengers to stone is an alien. But yeah, it is the same race that Jean Grey destroys their planet.
And, and...
It's a cool tie.
And we'll probably, I imagine, in the course of our time with Issues with Cartoons, we will probably cover the Phoenix Saga and the Dark Phoenix Saga.
I hope. I can't wait.
I would love to. But it's interesting because my recollection of that whole series is that John Byrne kind of drew that in himself, right? In the whole Marvel method thing.
Oh, sure.
And so he knew
the canon really well.
Right, and he pulled from old Kirby stuff constantly. Like, he was obviously a very big 60s Marvel fan, which makes sense. We all should be. But it's just so interesting that here, even in that consequential story, has roots coming all the way back to this issue. This issue is super important to Marvel, I guess is what I'm getting at. And so, we get some hints that this broccoli-headed guy might even be the basis for Medusa mythology.
Yeah, that's important to bring up. Yeah, so he is the inspiration for Medusa because his hair and he turns people to stone, which I think is a cool plot thread. It's interesting.
Really interesting. I am interested, though, and maybe listeners will know better than me, but Hercules features very heavily in Marvel. The Eternals have a lot to do with Greek mythology. Greek mythology exists within the Marvel Universe, and I wonder if this version of the Medusa myth is the Marvel version of Medusa, or if we see other Marvel versions of Medusa that they kind of overlay on top of this later. Because it would be surprising to me if they gave up this major Greek myth to this one-off character.
But Kirby's always doing this historically, like even when he brings up the race from Atlantis in the Fantastic Four annual, Submariners race and stuff. He brings up like a historical context of they're this lost race of man. I think Kirby has a thing for history.
Oh, for sure. And mythology.
Mythology and applying his characters to it. So this is just another thread of that.
And how great for Kirby that this is like Kirby's dream book, right? This issue. He's got Captain America. He's got World War II. He's got aliens and spaceships. He's got Greek soldiers and mythology tied in. I mean, this is a Kirby issue. It really does.
It's got sci-fi. It's got it's got everything. So this our broccoli alien. They don't say what race he is. I noticed.
Yeah,
I was looking for that, and they don't name it yet,
and they don't even give him a name. I don't think.
So you find out that he was convinced to turn the Avengers to stone by Submariner. So Submariner's continuing his thread here as the main villain.
Yeah. So the broccoli head. I'm so sorry. You probably have a name. Broccoli Head's spaceship is trapped underwater, and Namor has said, I can get your ship out if you do this one thing for me.
Yeah, he's blackmailing him, basically.
And again, even Atlantis is a Greek myth, so, this all kind of shared history makes sense.
It's cool. He explains history through the context of superheroes?
Yeah.
Could I say that? I mean...
Yeah, sure. And interestingly, Namor seems to know immediately that he's been betrayed, and I want to talk about this, because on page 15... Namor says, my plan has failed. The one who calls himself Captain America has robbed me of victory. And I bring that line up because the Invaders as a concept was created by Roy Thomas in, I think, the 70s. So it's not like the Invaders existed at this point in 1964 as a carryover from Marvel.
Yeah.
From Timely, rather. But the All-Winter Squad did exist in Timely Comics, and Namor and Captain America have a history that is almost completely not acknowledged, or it's maybe hinted at, or they're like that name sounds familiar, but there's no personable connection that is hinted at where they have any kind of indication that they've met before.
Sure. And
it's just so interesting.
Maybe Stanley thought it was too much.
That
like, it already is a lot. I mean, it's already a lot bringing Cap back. So I get it.
And maybe it didn't even occur to him that they would have met before, or that there would be comics out there that people would remember.
Certainly remember.
Yeah. So and that happens throughout, where he's like, I'm not sure if I remember this guy.
I like this scene of, like, Thor puts his hammer down by the sea.
And magnetizes.
Yeah. Uses this, like, transponder and creates magnetic waves and pulls this machine. I thought that was also cool.
And we'd actually, in Avengers 1, he magnetizes Mjolnir in that issue when he catches Loki. So using that same gimmick before. I love the shot of Captain America and Giant Man in scuba gear. I just think that's so very action figure-y to me, where you got them all kind of suiting up.
These sea, they say they're his sea warriors. Namor's complaining about not finding his people. They're very much the same race that's in the Fantastic Four annual.
Cool.
And just to state this, the Fantastic Four annual, Namor is trying to take over the human race with his race of, like, sea people. It's very much like Atlantis trying to take over the world. It's a lot like the plot of the second Black Panther. It is.
Interesting.
I was reading it and drawing a lot of parallels.
Well, and Namor returned to modern day in a Fantastic Four issue, and Black Panther debuted in a Fantastic Four issue.
Right. There's a lot of reasons why you would go with Namor. Namor.
I was looking up the dates. So Fantastic Four Annual 1 was July of 1963.
It's an early Marvel book.
Captain America returns in Avengers 4, which was released January of 1964.
Nice.
So roughly about 6 months apart. Those two stories. Just, again, providing context for our listeners.
Yeah.
So they're trying to pull this spaceship out from underwater, and then Namor and his soldiers show up, and they have this pretty extended fight scene that goes on for most of the rest of the book.
It's fun.
It's very fun, and you get this great shot of, like, on page 19. I know I'm skipping ahead, but Thor swinging his hammer, and that hammer.
I love that shot. I was about to say that.
Great foreshortening there. I mean, really, really powerful dynamic.
It's great. Yeah, you really get a lot of the hammer in the foreground.
It's just it's amazing. And now, like, page 17 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 panels to it. Just dense, but it moves so quickly. And, it's crazy to think that this issue started with Namor in the Arctic, and we went through all this story. And here we are with this big fight scene, this big set piece at the end. And we've had so many characters come into this story, and so many different settings happen. I mean, Rick Jones in the hotel room was 15 pages ago. Like, it's amazing the pace and the density and the storytelling economy that was in this time.
I can't stress how cool the continuity is, especially if you're, like, revisiting these books, and like me and Kyle we've read all the first appearances, and having all this context of, like, where Namor comes from, where Cap comes from, all these different characters, and now it's all coming to a head.
Yes.
It's all colliding in this issue.
And this is the selling point of Avengers as a title, right? You get all these storylines all fit together, and that comes to the forefront in an ensemble book like the Avengers.
It's fun.
Really, really fun. So ultimately, Cap is kind of watching from the sidelines just to kind of see if he's needed. And eventually, when he sees that Namor has Rick Jones captive, he decides to jump in and take the fight to Namor. And again, like, he introduces himself to Namor. My name's Captain America. I'm sure you'll be sure to never forget it. Although apparently he did forget it. And they fight, and then ultimately Broccoli Head gets the spaceship working.
Yeah.
But Namor misinterprets what's happening.
It's a bunch of rocks, and a wave comes up, and Namor's like, "What's this? Oh, the ground's blowing up. Let's get out of here." And him and his sea warriors swim away. And then
thinking they won.
Yeah.
Yeah, not realizing that, oh, wait, no, we actually lost.
Yeah, he thinks this wave, it's explained through captions, but he thinks this wave kills the Avengers and he can leave now.
Yeah, he thinks it's a random earthquake.
Yeah, but it's really the alien spaceship emerging from the water, and the Avengers emerge on this rock, and the spaceship flies away.
Yep, and they offer Captain America a chance to become a member. Really quick before that, though, you get another shot of the Wasp landing on Giant Man's nose, which I loved.
That was good.
I think this was the issue where Hank had some more unkind things to say to Janet. And I just want to stress again in this episode of our show that
we don't condone any of that.
No, cartoon Hank is much nicer, and we like much better than comic Hank.
We don't approve of 616.
616 Hank needs to learn some manners.
He's
and
a huge
learn
jerk to Wasp.
And Janet, honestly, you deserve better.
Yeah, right. There's a few times where I'm like, he says stuff to Wasp, but I'm like, you should just leave Janet. You should just go somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of other people that you would be much happier with. Although, you know, she did hide to powder her nose, which I think is sort of an unfortunate way to get to explain her absence in that fight.
So Cap joins the Avengers, and then we get 2 panels of Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
He's staring off in the distance, and he's like,
that's not Bruce. That is Rick.
Oh, that's Rick Jones?
So that's Rick. He's the greatest guy I ever met, and I can tell he wants me to be his partner, but what about the Hulk? So that's Rick thinking about his friendship with the Hulk, and he's worried that the Hulk's feelings are going to get hurt when he realizes that they've replaced him with Captain America. And nothing in life is certain, and we must take the good and the bad as fate deals them out. One thing is certain,
little tie-in with the Hulk.
Yeah, so
he's still being presented through Rick Jones.
Yeah, he's still present in this book, which is super interesting. And there's actually a Jim Steranko Captain America issue where the Hulk and Captain America kind of have a little tiff over Rick Jones later. Right now you're showing me issue 5, and the Hulk is in that issue.
So, I mean, the Hulk doesn't really go away.
Featuring the Incredible Hulk. Wild. Yeah. I didn't remember that with the lava man.
So, I think we said in previous episode that Hulk kind of disappears.
But he doesn't
doesn't really.
No.
He's referenced throughout.
He's even in the corner box. That's a very crowded corner box on issue 5.
Yeah.
In the best way.
But, I mean, that's Avengers 4. Kyle, is there anything else you want to say about it?
No, just if you're a Marvel fan, you would enjoy this.
You owe it to yourself. This is essential. I was lucky enough that I got a reprint when I was younger.
Cool.
I think I was 10. You know, it was in... I think I talked to you about these collections. There were the 100 greatest Marvel stories ever told. They were like trade paperbacks, and this was one of the issues in it. And I would recommend this. I would recommend Fantastic Four Annual 1 too.
Great.
I mean, like I would recommend all these early stories.
Well, and that sounds like it pairs very nicely with this.
It does. It ties in.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where Stan Lee references it at the bottom in one of those captions where he's like, "Hey, Marvelites, check out this issue." It's referenced.
I think the thing that makes Captain America so compelling is found in this issue. That man out of time, that tragic pathos, that man who's having to kind of abandon his old life and find a new one, and this newfound family with the Avengers. It's something that Marvel has taken a lot of mileage out of, this one issue, and has defined an important part of Avengers mythology, an important part of superhero mythology. The trope of suspended animation, a character being literally frozen in time. Really, really consequential issue. I think everyone should read it.
Huge part of the Marvel canon. Right. Definitely read it.
All right, Carl, tell me about some things you want to plug.
Okay, so you can find my artwork at www.carllucasdraws.com. I just updated my inventory. So before I only had Shogun Bear and the House of Horrors and Captain Devil, but now I have all my zines and comics, including some of my Marvel minis, some sketchbooks, some different things. You can hop on there and check out. My commissions are open. Feel free to hit me up. Kyle, what do you want to plug?
Ko-fi.com/kylewindle is where you can find my offerings, my comic Cornelius Armstrong Adventures and Antics, my mini comics Thunderduck and Mad Science Rejects. More to come. My commissions are also open. I'll probably have some prints up there as well that you can get. And then for the show, contact at IssuesWithCartoons.com. We are on Instagram and Twitter. And on YouTube. So follow, like, subscribe, do all the things. Please let us know what you think of the show. Leave a comment where you can. And we want to make this a conversation with you guys as well. Tell us what your thoughts are. What's your favorite version of the reawakening of Captain America? I alluded to some Captain America retcons with the 40s and 50s. What do you know about those, if anything? Are you interested in learning more? Do you have a favorite Captain America substitute?
I'd love to hear that.
Do you have favorite stories from that era, maybe, that you think we should check out? But,
what are your favorite early Marvel books?
Absolutely, we want to hear from you as well. So until then, we'll keep talking about Avengers, and we'll talk to you about them next time.
Bye, everybody.